Welcome to this episode of the Brochure series. Today we're going to talk about the VN Commodore. The VN was released in August 1988 and ran until September 1991. In the 80s, Holden lost its market share to Ford. The Falcon was still a large car and was very popular with fleet buyers. Holden knew they were in trouble, so by the early 80s they'd started working on the all-new Commodore. And one of the big things that they wanted to make sure they addressed was the size, the width and the length. The car they were working on was the VN. It was based on the Opel design. It was widened. It had a completely new front end and rear end styling. Most of the interior is also unrecognizable compared to an Opel. On the inside there was a lot of firsts for Holden: a one-piece dash, molded door trims and a molded hood lining. A few months into production in 1990, the VN Calais received Holden's first climate control air conditioning. The Calais had all the features you would expect at the time: remote central locking, power mirrors, power windows, power steering, air conditioning, trip computer, 4-speaker cassette stereo, automatic, cruise control, power antenna, and the option of a V8 from 1989 in March. When the VN was released, it was the first time there was a complete new body and a new motor released simultaneously. The last time that happened was with the original Holden, the 48215, also known as the FX Holden. When the VL was released, there was a new motor to Holden, but the body style was just an updated VK. For the VZ, we got a new motor, the Allotech V6, but it was in an updated body of the VY. The new 3.8 litre V6 developed 7% more power. It was up over the VL from 114 kilowatts to 125 kilowatts. It also produced 15% more torque and was now producing 292 newton meters. The later end of the VN production, from November 1990, there was an updated V6. It had 127 kilowatts. The V6 developed a reputation of being harsh. Compared to the VL, it wasn't as smooth, but it didn't really hinder sales. I can only imagine if there was a silky smooth V6 under the hood, how many additional sales Holden would have got over the EA Falcon. This is the base model VN Commodore Executive. It's more basic in specification. It does have cloth seats. Power steering is standard, as is a 2-speaker stereo system. Optional air conditioning and automatic for the VN Executive. This is Holden's entry-level sports model, the Commodore S. It had colour-coded bumper bars, colour-coded grille, blacked-out window surroundings. On release in 1988, it shared the VL Turbo hubcaps, but later on, it was updated in 1990 with the hubcaps that you see here. The interior featured a sports cloth that was later shared with the VNSS. It also had sports instrumentation, which just included a tachometer, a 4-speaker stereo with treble and bass control that was shared with the Berliner, and air conditioning was standard. This is Holden's mid-luxury model, the Holden Berliner. On the exterior, it had colour-coded bumper bars, a black garnish between the rear tail lights, different badging, different hubcaps to the Executive. This is an early one. The later model has different ones again. A grey painted grille. The rear tail lights were smoky. They were tinted darker, and they were shared with the Calais S and the SS. On the bumper line, the VN Berliner also had large side protection molds. On the inside, you got a more plush interior. The velour fabric was carried over from the VL Calais. You had a 4-speaker stereo system with treble and bass control. Air conditioning was standard, as well as auto, and there was reading lights front and back. Other luxury items included cut pole carpet, carpeted door trims on the bottom, door bins for the front 2 door trims, and the front seats had rear mat pockets. Optional on the Berliner was power pack, which included power mirrors, central locking, power windows, and electric aerial. The VNSS also had the same power pack option. When Holden first got its hands on the Opel wagon, they thought the rear was quite square. It resembled a hearse, so they spent a lot of time redesigning the rear end of the wagon to make it softer. Holden focused a lot on the wagon during its marketing campaigns, including the extra 2 seats at the back to make it a 7-seater. This is my VN SV wagon next to my old Berliner wagon. That Berliner wagon was a V6, but it did have power pack. I have some videos of the LE on YouTube. Feel free to check them out. This VN Calais was the 100,000th VN made. This is a clip from a magazine showing the VN police cars. In March 1989, the big news was the V8 was back, but this time it was in injected form at 165 kilowatts. The VNSS was the pick of the bunch. It was only released in Atlas Grey and Phoenix Red, which you can see here. And this is a photo of the car at the Melbourne Motor Show. You can see the Phoenix Red SS in the center. Behind it is a VN Formula. Holden's rear quarter panel design with the squared wheel arch was not to everybody's liking. Holden did do that intentionally to make the car appear bigger. Here you can see an advertisement to make a round wheel arch. We often refer to VN Series 1 and Series 2, although Holden never officially badged them that way. I came across this and it actually says Series 3. This is an Opera House Edition Commodore, very rare, 150 made. Holden was without a ute for around 6 years when the WB ceased manufacturing in 1984. The VG essentially is the VN ute, and it was the first Holden utility that we had in quite some time. And what a good looking ute it was as well. There are some really good TV commercials on the release of the VG ute, and it's true, every man and his dog did love it. During the VL years, Holden was basically bankrupt. GM in the States did bail out Holden, so there was a lot banking on the VN. Luckily, the VN was hugely successful. There are a lot of haters for the VN, but there's also a lot of people that like the VN. Ultimately, the VN returned Holden to profitability and gave Holden another 30 years. This is a super rare VN GTS Commodore. It's a New Zealand-based car. It had the VN SS lip kit. It was basically an S-Pack. There are so many different model VNs. I won't cover them all in this video, I'll save for another time. This one here is an SV89. It featured the VN 5-litre V8. The VN SV89 was a limited edition model. It was quite significant because it was the first VN V8 HSV produced. It had 180 kilowatts instead of 165. This is the VN color chart, and Imperial Blue is probably one of the best looking colors in my opinion. This Calais is magic. This interior is the SV enhanced interior for a VN Calais. I think this is quite a plush interior and was a huge leap above the VL. Let's take a look at some of the press release photos from various magazines on the release of the VN. This photo here shows the lean of the VN. It used the VL front suspension to save costs, so it had a narrow front track. But as you can see in the caption on the bottom, it's saying that it rode flatter than a VL. So that's the Berliner. This is the Calais in action. And now we also have our basic executive shot, which was used in a lot of the press release. HSV loved to experiment with the VN Commodore. They converted a VN Berliner to a 2-door coupe that was convertible. It was in SV5000 form. The rear quarter panel had a curved wheel arch, which was very interesting. I think it looks really good in red. It's a shame it didn't get produced. The VN was Car of the Year. It joined the VB as Car of the Year, and subsequent models, the VR, the VT, and the VE were also Car of the Year. In 1990, HSV released the SV5000. It was a luxury sports model. It was only available in automatic, had a very plush interior with optional leather. It had 200 kilowatts and it really looked the part. It was available in SV Racing Green and Rose Grey. These are the Tooheys 1000 VNSS Group A giveaway cars for Tooheys 1000 Bathurst in 1991. I have a tribute car that looks like this. If you want, check out my videos. This is the front page brochure of the VNSS Group A. Great looking car, nice colour as well, and this is one of the marketing shots. With the end of Group A racing, this was the end of the line for the Group A cars. Once the VN won some awards and hit the #1 sales position, Holden stated everybody loves it. In Holden's mind, top of the sales, top of the awards, everybody has to love it. This is the limited edition LE wagon with 80 made. It's in Firethorn red. These photos are out of a magazine when the car was new. Another first for the VM was the introduction of the Club Sport nameplate. It was released in 1990 and ran right through to the VF in 2017. It was a lightweight, executive base car with 180 kilowatts. It had standard executive trim, although there are some examples with some SV interior. This is the VN on the production line at Elizabeth. Very clear photos for their time. It's amazing that we had such a big car industry for such a long time, and this is all lost now. This is the holding yard. On the front there you've got the VNs, it must be in the transition, and in the back you can see all the VLs. I bumped into this VN in my travels, and when I saw it I knew I had to get a photo. During the 3 years of production of the VN, there was just over 215,000 units made. That one there is a VM Berliner 5 litre. Unfortunately, most VNs would have now suffered this fate. Most would not be on the road, but it's good to see there's some good examples out there. Thanks for watching. I'm GT. Catch you soon.